and we are glad to talk about Chaos Walking here today.
Yeah, me too.
I understand you were born in the U.S. You live in London. Um, the film is based on your novels that I've never read, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about the novels first, and then go into the film.
I am American. I was born in the US, lived in England for about 20 years, but I now live back in Los Angeles. I'm back in America. But the books do tend to be set a lot in England, but this one is set on another planet. So it's it could be anywhere really. Yeah, Chaos Walking is set in a place where settlers have landed to colonize. It looks a lot like Earth. But there is a germ there. That's what they've been told, that causes everyone to be able to hear what everyone else's thoughts are, whether you want to or not. And the town that it opens in, where Todd Hewitt, the main character, played by Tom Holland, lives, when it opens, there's just been a terrible war, and all the women have been killed, so the town is dying. There are only men in the town. And then Daisy Ridley crashes, and things go badly awry. And there's lots of chases and fights for your life and that kind of thing. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I do see that the film is also a for the times that we're living in today in reality with coronavirus and everything else with COVID. It just seems to be like this is in another planet. Um, Tell us about the two main characters that are fighting for to help each other out. It looks like it. And I just finished watching the film this morning um, about Todd and Daisy and their characters specifically.
Well, Tom plays Todd Hewitt, who is orphaned and raised by Ben Killian, these two men on the farm. And he's been taught that the town is one way, and the mayor, played by Mads Mikkelsen, leads the town. And he's a decent kid. He's smart, though illiterate. Illiteracy doesn't indicate anything about intelligence. It just means you haven't had the opportunity. And he thinks his life's going to go one way. But when Daisy's character, who's called Viola, crash lands there, he learns that he's been lied to about his past, and that he is in grave danger for finding out about this lie. And his two sort of surrogate dads send him on his way with Viola to escape the mayor's plan, which is now coming to fruition.
And we also see you have Mexican actor Damian Bichir in the film, who plays a foster parent for Todd.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about how he ended up in the film? And I know he's played other roles in other sci-fi action films in the past.
Yeah.
Maybe tell us about that.
Oscar nominee Damian Bichir. Yeah, he's great. I mean, he's when in the books, when I wrote, this is an interesting question, because in the books, when I wrote the first book, I specifically left out references to race, because my goal was that anybody could feel welcome, in the way that whoever you were when you were reading it, you could feel like you fit in. Turns out that has the opposite effect, because people just picture me as, I'm the author, so everybody must look like me. And so it's in later books I did start referencing race, just to be very, very clear that this was a world that welcomed everyone. And so when we got to casting, I had that same conversation, and I said, please just open it up. And I want cool people. And so finding the coolest people I don't mind what they look like, because they'll just bring something special and different to the characters. So we had a fantastic casting director who got us the coolest cast, and just one person after another, when she would suggest, how about Cynthia Erivo, how about David Oyelowo, and how about Damian Bichir? These are such cool actors that I feel like a very, very lucky author. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's amazing to see him in your film as well. Can you tell us about the location? Obviously, looking at the film, watching the film this morning, you see some picturesque, beautiful scenery, the outdoors. Can you tell us about this location for this film in itself?
Yeah, some of it was in Atlanta, but most of it was in northern rural Quebec, which looks beautiful, but is filled with the biggest mosquitoes in North America. I'm telling you. And one day we shot in a swamp, which you can see that there's a small scene in the swamp in the film, and there you can see actual leeches swimming around in the swamp. So beautiful on a picture, and I'm sure lovely in the right season. But yeah, it's a little more dangerous than it looks. Northern Quebec.
Well, that's amazing. It's beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit also about how your books cater to the younger generation or younger readers, and how is this film going to cater to an entire audience.
Well, I mean, to me, the difference about young adult fiction has always been that young adult readers are they're more willing to follow you to far off places, which is fantastic for a storyteller. But in order to get that, in order for them to give that to you, you also have to respect what they take seriously. And young adults take their emotions more seriously than we do, which I think is something we lose, to our debit as we grow up. But they're very sincere about what they feel, and I think that's kind of beautiful, and it's kind of heartbreaking. And so that's really what I try to go after. I really tried to make Todd and Violet feel like real people, not just cookie cutter. Oh, it's so obvious they're going to have a romance. It doesn't go the way you expect it to go. And I think that's what I want to, rather more than any kind of lesson about the world. I mean, that stuff is there, but I never wanted to be preached to when I was a teenager. I just want them to feel like I am treating them like real people. And I think when you do that, you get everybody else, because we can all remember what it was like to be a teenager. So that's my goal.
Let's talk about some scenes. I enjoyed the scene in the beginning when the spaceship is coming into the planet, but I also enjoyed the scene where the horse and the motorcycle are coming off like the hill. That was a very interesting scene. Obviously, the horse lands and the horse is still alive. Can you tell us about that scene?
It's
Was that referenced in your book?
in a slightly different way. The fate of the horse is slightly different, but the we wanted a shorthand of telling you who Tom Holland's character is, and that this is a tough place. And but that scene, it's kind of like there's this old movie. Oh, I say old, I mean mid-'80s. It's not that old, but called The Man from Snowy River, which my parents loved. And there's a famous horse chase in that, of wild horses down an extremely steep cliff. And I like to think it's a bit of an homage to that, the coming down a steep cliff and just leaping off into the unknown because you have to, and picking yourself up bruised at the bottom. Yeah, that was definitely, that was all Northern Quebec. I was there for those days on set. So that
Oh,
was
wow.
kind of see on screen. So
Nice. Tell us about the whole thing about noise in the film. What
yeah,
is noise?
that's the key thing. Yeah, yeah.
That is the most interesting thing that I found. Like, it's telepathy, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, I should have mentioned it before now, really. That's the germ I was talking about. The idea is that every thought, and we find out that it's only men, and it's every thought you have all the time on display constantly, whether you want to or not. And when I was writing these books about 2007, it was sort of the first social media golden age, where we were really feeling our oats and saying how great it was. And even then, it was starting to feel a little bit noisy. And so I thought, well, what if the next logical step is that you had no choice but to share everything, and it was everyone, and how awful that would be. And so I called it the noise, and I made it this planet, and I made it, what these men have to suffer with, and it's terrible. And there are people in there who've learned to control theirs better than others. But imagine if you had no privacy. Imagine if every embarrassing thought you had was on display for everyone to see. Well, how would that affect your growing up? How would that affect your sense of identity? How would that affect your ability to trust? And I kind of feel like the world has only gotten noisier since then. So I'm not being judgmental about it. I'm not saying, social media is bad, blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying it's a question we should ask, because with all of the good that social media does, there is a lot of bad to it. We've seen in the time since the book was written how people have started to use the confusion and noise of social media for their own ends. The spreading of misinformation, the spreading of lies. So yeah, it's a question we should constantly ask. That's where the noise came from. It also looks cool. So.
It does look pretty cool, and it's also like his demon he's fighting throughout the entire movie. And the interesting part, the love story behind it with Daisy, how he throughout the movie he's like, should I kiss her? Should I not? And at the end, we
Yeah.
don't know that. Uh,
Yeah.
so it's sort of a love story, and
Yeah,
that's
that's what I wanted. But I wanted them to really trust each other first, because that to me is always much more interesting than simple two movie characters fall in love because they have to. And so how do you trust someone when they're telling you absolutely everything all the time? So yeah, that to me, it's that's my favorite part of the movie. The way that they learn to trust each other, and the way that they find a love that's different than romantic love. But we'll see what the future brings. But yeah.
Well, congrats on it.
Thank you
Hopefully,
very
one
much.
of these can pick up your book and read it, and then enjoy it just as much as I enjoyed the film. If you can give our readers a shout out, it's at LatinoScoop, and why they should come and check out the film.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Patrick Ness, author of Chaos Walking. Talking to all you great people on Latino Scoop in the great, great city of Chicago, where I had the best chocolate milkshake I've ever had in my life anywhere on the planet, I have to say. So yeah, check out my movie Chaos Walking on VOD now.
Where was that chocolate shake from?
I cannot. It was in the only thing I can't remember the name of the place, but
Rico.
it was in a lesbian owned cafe I remember in the gay part of town, and they said we use real Ghirardelli chocolate in our chocolate milkshake, and it's the only time in my life I've had two chocolate milkshakes in one sitting because it was that good.
Oh, wow. Good for you. You come back and have some pizza with it.
Absolutely,
Well, thank you for your time.
pleasure. Thanks, Jose.
Thank you.